In a certain part of Africa, nestled within rolling hills and dense forests, stood Greendale Academy, a prestigious secondary school, known for both its academic excellence and disciplined environment. The school's reputation reached far and wide, a beacon of hope and achievement in the community, where children were encouraged to aim high and parents sacrificed much to see them succeed. Greendale was a place where tradition met strict discipline, especially under the watchful eye of its headmaster, Mr. Benson, a former soldier. He carried himself with an authority that demanded respect. Tall and lean, with a bristling mustache and a voice that could silence a crowd with a single word. He took pride in maintaining order in his school. Students learned to walk quickly in his presence, avoiding even a hint of mischief. For Mr. Benson's surprise inspections and unyielding standards kept everyone on edge. Despite his stern nature, students admired him, and most shared a sense of pride in Greendale's reputation. But the day had come when the school's esteemed halls would bear witness to an unusual scandal, one that would disrupt the peace and reveal an unexpected side of some of Greendale's students. It was a quiet morning, yet the atmosphere buzzed with tension. Students gathered in the assembly hall, filling row upon row of seats. At the front, the headmaster stood on the stage, pacing back and forth, visibly angry. His face flushed as he prepared to address the entire school. Sitting on the stage beside him was the head prefect, David, his head wrapped in bandages and his face covered in plaster strips. A painful reminder of the events that had unfolded. The silence was heavy, and even the teachers seated behind. David could feel the weight of the headmaster's fury. Over 1,000 pairs of eyes watched as Mr. Benson halted, took a deep breath and began to speak, his deep voice booming through the hall. "This is unheard of. It is outrageous," shouted Mr. Benson, the headmaster of Greendale Academy, a prestigious secondary school. His voice echoed through the assembly hall as he paced back and forth, visibly furious. Seated on the stage was the school's head prefect, David, his head wrapped in bandages, with plaster strips covering parts of his face. Behind him sat the teachers, observing the scene in silence, while over 1,000 students watched attentively. The headmaster, a former military officer, was known for his strict discipline. Tall and lean with a thick mustache that bristled as he spoke, he commanded attention and respect. I was there myself. Mr. Benson boomed in his deep, gravelly voice. I was doing one of my surprise night rounds and saw 4 of my students attacking the head prefect. "The 4 of you, come forward." 4 boys stood up reluctantly and moved toward the stage. Among them was Kojo, the school's renowned pianist. Though just over 17, he was tall and well-built. A mixture of boos and murmurs spread through the student crowd. "I turn around and face your fellow students. Hands behind your backs," the headmaster barked. The boys obeyed. "We will make an example of these boys," Mr. Benson continued angrily. "We cannot allow anyone to tarnish the reputation of Greendale Academy, one of the country's finest schools. Therefore, they are all expelled. They have 1 hour to pack their things and leave." The students reacted with mixed emotions. Some booed, others sighed in sympathy. Many admired Kojo for his exceptional piano skills, calling him a musical prodigy. Yet, among the younger students, Kojo had earned a reputation as a bully, and they felt relieved at his departure. Before the boys could leave, Mr. Eggerman, the senior housemaster, decided to search their belongings. Kojo's box was the first to be brought out. As it opened, a range of luxury items appeared. Tins of sardines, mackerel, milk, cornflakes, jam, biscuits, and corned beef, items his parents could hardly afford. "Are all these yours?" "I know," said Alderman, asked Kojo sternly. "As sure," Kojo replied defiantly. "Sir," I knew a small boy named Mark stepped forward. Some of my provisions went missing recently. I think some of these might be mine." Can you identify them?" "Oh, that's one of the teachers." "Yes, sir." "I write my name on them," Mark said, his voice trembling. He began picking out items, showing the inscriptions of his name on several tins of sardines and milk. Another student came forward and identified more stolen items from Kojo's box. The crowd erupted into laughter, mocking Kojo as he stood there, unable to respond, his face fallen. The tension escalated as they searched the belongings of Dato, another of the expelled students. When asked to open his box, he stalled, claiming he couldn't find his keys. With a screwdriver, the teachers forced the box open, revealing more provisions and, hidden in a pair of khaki trousers, small bundles of dried leaves. "What are these?" Mr. Agaman held the bundles in front of Dato. "I don't know, sir," Dato mumbled. The teacher who had opened the box scoffed. "Of course you wouldn't know. Perhaps they magically appeared there." After closer inspection, one teacher declared, "These are marijuana leaves. There have been rumors that you've been selling this to other students." Outraged, the students jeered, calling Dato a drug dealer and mocking him as he stood there visibly shaken. The boxes of the other two boys were also searched, and more stolen goods were uncovered. Finally, all four boys were escorted off the premises, expelled from Greendale Academy. Meanwhile, in a modest family home, Adwoa was singing one of her favorite gospel songs as she and her younger sister, Kessia, washed dishes in the kitchen. Their cheerful singing filled the house, bringing joy to the family. "The gospel train is coming, I hear it just at hand. I hear the car wheels moving and rumbling through the land." Suddenly they stopped singing. "What is it?" Al Kofi, their father, called from the dining room where he had been eating dinner. He knew his daughters well. Silence often meant something was wrong. "It's Kojo!" Adwa shouted, seeing him through the window. Kezia rushed outside to get a better look. Kofi appeared in the kitchen. "What happened to our son?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "There he is, with all his bags," Adwa pointed outside. Kofi looked out the window and saw Kojo unloading his belongings from a taxi, helped by the driver. Kessia stood by, watching in shock. Kofi rushed out to meet his son, with Adwa following closely. Why are you home, Kojo?" Kofi asked anxiously. "Has the school closed early?" "No, father, I've been expelled," Kojo stammered. "Expelled?" Kofi and Adwa exclaimed in unison. "For what reason?" Kofi asked, struggling to understand. Kojo hesitated. "For fighting with the head prefect." "Oh, Kojo, why would you do such a thing?" Adwoa cried. "Where's the expulsion letter?" Kofi asked. "The headmaster said he'd send it by mail," Kojo replied. "I can't wait for that. I'm going up to the school tomorrow to find out what happened." Kofi couldn't believe his son would be expelled without just cause. He and his wife had sacrificed so much for their children's education and had high hopes for Kojo's future. "Excuse me, sir, my fare?" The taxi driver interrupted impatiently. Kofi quickly paid the driver, and Kezia helped Kojo carry his belongings inside. "Your exams are just around the corner," Kofi reminded him later that evening as they sat in the living room. Don't you still want to go to university?" "I do, father," Kojo replied. "And will the school let you take your exams?" "I don't know. The headmaster was too angry to talk about it." Kofi sighed. Go find something to eat." He felt too troubled to continue his own meal, worrying about the future he and Adwoa had envisioned for their son. Later that night, he drove to his boss's house, needing permission to take the next day off, so he could seek answers at Greendale Academy.